but they still feel crowded.
Yeah.
You know, especially that high.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for everybody being here on behalf of the Pelham Council of PTAs. I'd like to welcome you to the 2026 Board of Education Candidates Forum. And again, thank you very, very much for attending. I am Kristen Whalen. I am the president of the Council of PTAs. Quick note, PTA is a not-for-profit corporation with a tax exemption under IRS rules, which states that such organizations may not make written or oral statements for or against candidates for public office. PTA is nonpartisan, which means PTA cannot and does not support or oppose candidates, including those running for school board. Moving on to the evening, Jen Studi, our treasurer, will be functioning as our timekeeper this evening. Thank you very much, and you guys will make sure that you guys all have eye contact there. And now please allow me to introduce Mr. John Hessel from the League of Women Voters of Westchester, who will be moderating the forum. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome everybody. So we got 3 candidates right here running for 2 seats for the Board of Education. The candidates are in alphabetical order, Mr. Sid Burke, and Ms. Anne Marie Garcia, and Ms. Lisa Martino Alves. We drew lots, and this is the speaking order of the candidates. We'll be live streaming this meeting on the district's YouTube channel. Candidates may read a pre-written opening and pre-written closing statements, but only allowed to have a blank notepad during the forum. Each candidate has 3 minutes for their opening statements, 2 minutes to respond to each question, and there'll be a 2-minute closing statement at the end. All the questions were submitted by the public and the PTA prior to the event, and were reviewed by the PTA Council and me, the moderator. The questions were not made available to the candidates before the forum. We're not taking any questions from the audience tonight. The moderator has the right to rule on all questions, may restate questions. All questions are answerable by all the candidates, and each candidate has the opportunity to answer every question. The candidates may not interrupt each other, rebut, or make personal attacks. After the question period, we'll have the closing statements, and they'll go in the opposite order. So opening statements this way and closing statements that way. And each candidate has 2 minutes for those. Our timekeeper, Jen, has the warning signs for 30 seconds. I think she has 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then a stop sign. No recording this, okay? We have it recorded in the back. And silence your cell phones. I think mine's silenced already. I hope so. There's no applause during the forum, okay? So just hold all your applause, and we'll do some applause at the end. Okay. Candidates, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Ms. Martino Alves, you have the opening statement.
Great. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the PTA Council, John Hessel from the League of Women Voters, and everyone here tonight for taking the time to learn more about the candidates. My name is Lisa Martino Alves, and I'm running for Pelham Board of Education. I'm a parent of 2 children in Pelham schools, one in 9th grade and one in 6th grade. We moved here 4 years ago because we wanted our children to receive a Pelham education, and we are pleased with this decision. Pelham is a high-performing district with strong programs and outcomes and community investment. I want to acknowledge the administration and the current board, including the other 2 candidates, for their role in this. We are entering a significant transition in education. New York has a new mandated statewide framework called Portrait of the Graduate, which adopts a broader definition of student readiness, one that demands clear student aptitude in communication, critical thinking, and adaptability. Our students are also facing rapidly changing technology, including AI, which is altering the way they learn, access information, and produce work. Traditional teaching and assessment methods alone won't cut it. With diploma assessment requirements being decoupled from Regents exams beginning in fall 2027, we are also moving from a state-driven system of assessment to one that relies much more heavily on local, district, and board decision-making. This places a new and significant responsibility on school boards. to ensure that the assessments we adapt are rigorous, aligned to standards, and provide a clear and credible measure of student learning and maintain comparability to other districts in our region. These transformations mean that our system can't just maintain the status quo. This is why I am running for the board. Public education is my life's work. I have over 20 years' experience in education, intentionally built across a broad range of educational settings. Since earning a master's degree from Teachers College at Columbia University, I have been a teacher in New York City public schools, international schools, and an instructor in project-based learning environments in Rhode Island, as well as an education researcher for the Education Alliance at Brown University. I have been a school administrator in New York City and Westchester, and am currently principal at Hendrick Hudson High School. These different settings have given me a broad perspective on how schools operate, how learning needs vary, and how systems succeed or struggle when navigating external change. They are the foundation of my pursuit of making public education excellent, relevant, and joyful. I'm running because I bring an experience perspective that's grounded in what's happening inside classrooms every day. There's no trustee on the Pelham Board of Education who are educators. I can contribute to the board as an educator by helping it ask better questions and make informed decisions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good timing.
Mr. Burke?
Hi, everyone. Thank you to PTAC and the League of Women Voters for putting together this event tonight, and to all of you watching in the audience and online. My name's Sid Burke, and I'm seeking re-election to the school board because I'm proud of the contributions I've made over the past 3 years and believe I still have more to give in helping to shape the district's strategic direction. I'm a lawyer who represents companies and investors in mergers, acquisitions, and other complex business transactions. Clients hire me partly for my legal advice, but mainly for my judgment, temperament, and creativity in working with others to find solutions. I bring those same qualities to my work with the district and a different perspective as the only lawyer on the board. In the past 3 years, we've seen both strategic and tactical accomplishments on the board, including having developed and started to implement a new strategic plan, identified our highest priority facilities needs, rallied the community to support a generational investment through last year's bond vote, and are now working with stakeholders and the district's architects to turn those proposals into reality, with construction starting this summer. We've seen improved school rankings and continued student recognition, including AP Platinum distinction, multiple national merits finalists, Regeneron Talent Search top 300 winners, and award winners for music and theater. We've negotiated contract extensions with the district's largest unions on favorable terms, and reviewed 80 policies during the 2 school years that I've chaired the policy committee. And we've done all this while obtaining voter approval each year for tax cap compliant budgets. This year, the district ranks in the top 5% of New York school districts academically, while keeping total spending per pupil below the New York State average. And that's something we ought to be proud of. Although we've made a lot of progress during my first term on the board, there's also a lot of hard work ahead of us in a number of areas, which I hope we'll have some time to talk about during the course of this forum, including district finances, Glover pedestrian safety, sustainability opportunities, and maintaining our focus on academic excellence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you to the PTA Council for hosting this forum and the League of Women Voters for moderating. My name is Anne Marie Garcia, and I am running for re-election to the Board of Education. So I thought what I'd do is tell you a little bit about why I am running to be re-elected and why you might consider me when you go to the ballot. So first off, I think what's most important is how do I approach leadership? And the thing that I've learned being on the board is that leadership is not about having simple answers to complex questions and challenges. And we all know that there are complex things going on, things that go on in general with our schools, but in today's day and age, things are really complicated, right? For our students, for our administrators, for us in general. So when the questions are complex, we have to think deeply about how we are guiding the district. The other thing that I've learned, which I knew before getting on the board, but you really come to see it when you're on there, is that you're one of 7 people governing on the board. You're providing guidance to the district. You're not one person coming in with an agenda. Of course, we all have our things that we care about and we feel are very important to, for our students and for our staff. And at the same time, once you get in that seat, you're one of 7 people. And so if let's say you have an idea that is worthy of pursuing and all 7 board members think, yes, it is, great. If not, then it's a matter of realizing that you're there to collaborate with one another. The other part of my leadership is respecting the roles that we have, right? So the board is there to govern, not to run the schools. We provide the what. What is it that we want our schools to look like? The district, meaning the staff, the administrators, the custodians, the monitors, they are there to run the schools. They know how to do that. We're there to ask tough questions, but my belief is that we leave it to them to actually run the school. So the next thing I want to tell you is while I was trustee, I contributed to the strategic plan, the successful bond vote, the improvement in communications, as well as doing all of this while maintaining a budget that did not break the tax cap. We are in a complex time, as I mentioned before. There are state mandates coming down from New York State without funding, and we need to comply. We are under tremendous financial pressures, as you all know, you are as well. We have wellness needs for our students. We need to pay attention to the whole student, both academically and personally, and their social emotional well-being. Technology and the AI effects on teaching and learning are key to pay attention to right now, and so that's why I think experience and continuity matters to handle these complex issues in front of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to enter the question and answer period. These questions are broken up by category. The first category that we're going to ask a question is functioning in governance. Mr. Burke, we're going to start the questions with you. Board members are often asked to make decisions across many complex areas. Can you describe how you would approach an issue that is not your personal area of interest or expertise, and how you would make sure your decision reflects the needs of the entire district?
Sure. So the work I do as an M&A lawyer, people ask me often, like, do you specialize in a particular area of M&A or a particular sector? And M&A lawyers like to say we can buy and sell anything. We take the knowledge that we have, generalize it, learn deeply about whatever sector we're working in, and build on the experience that we've had in other sectors to apply it to a new issue. On the school board, I take that same approach, and we also have the benefit of having connections in the community and people to reach out to get a feel for how others are looking at these issues and what their concerns are. I guess that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, that's
Thank you.
fine. Thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Yes. Do you mind repeating the
No,
question?
I don't.
Okay.
Don't worry. Board members are often asked to make decisions across many complex areas. Can you describe how you would approach an issue that is not your personal area of interest or expertise, and how you would make sure your decision reflects the needs of the whole district?
Okay, so this is what happens whether in work or life, right? You're posed with issues, situations, challenges, questions to answer, and you may have no idea how to answer them. You may have some thoughts, or you may think this is really not an important issue. As a board member, though, things are a little different, right? So if there's a decision to be made across something that is complex, it's my responsibility to educate myself. And I do that by talking with the community. I do that by listening to my fellow board members. What's great is that we have a board full of professionals from varying fields, right? So everyone's got a different expertise, which is fantastic. And so I learned from my fellow board members what they have to say about these things, and I listen. So that's a big thing that is really important to me. You won't see me always talking a whole lot, but when I have something to say, I will say it. But I truly listen to what is going on from how my other board members see that. I also know that not everything that comes across the board's table is something that I'm going to be passionate about, but that doesn't matter. I'm not there for my passion projects. I'm there to help govern the district and be a supporter of all students, no matter what the issue may be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You want the question again?
Oh, I think by now I got it.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you. So I approach this all the time. I am a school principal, and I work in many areas in leadership, working with students, parents, other colleagues, and bringing equality of voice to understanding a decision. So that means asking questions and asking appropriate questions and clarifying questions and deeper questions to really get to the bottom of understanding the issue at hand. That means going to fellow board members and looking to their expertise also to better understand the complexity of an issue, and especially looking at sources of data. So as a school district, we collect lots of different data from gaining student voice, from gaining information from our parents and our community members, and using that to really try to understand the complexity of an issue, and bringing Plan A, Plan B, Plan C to really look at how well each can address these particular needs of our community.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so this one's going to start with you, Ms. Garcia. It's about teaching, learning, and student well-being. Flooding remains an issue for our school district. This creates a long-term effect on our students' mental health. How do you plan to address the issue of student well-being at our schools while also seizing the opportunity as a teachable moment?
Can you repeat that? Because
I
it
think I'm
started
gonna-
with flooding, and I want to just make sure I understand the question.
I'm going to clarify that question.
Okay, thank you.
How do you plan to address the issue of student well-being at our schools?
Okay, thank you. That I understand. For those of you who know me, know that well-being of our students and their social and emotional learning is extremely important to me. So how do I plan to address it? Is by guiding the district when we talk about academic excellence, realizing that academic excellence doesn't just mean academics, right? So for a student to be excellent in whatever excellence means for them, they have to actually feel good in the classroom. They have to know that there are safe adults that they can talk with who can provide guidance to them when they may not have that elsewhere. The thing is that the part of the strategic plan, one of the core elements is belonging in wellness, right? And so if you have students who feel like they walk into a building where they belong and they feel comfortable, you're better able to reach them academically. The other thing is that we're facing a mental health crisis in this country, and we know that our kids are deeply affected. And so what I love seeing the district do is partner with local organizations to have supports for students. We partner with the Pelham Together for E&L support groups. We have a mental health clinic right on campus. So as a board member, I would make sure to promote those things, make sure there's budget for those things, and ask for updates as time goes on to make sure students are being taken care of. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Martino Alves?
Yes, thank you. So student wellness comes down to students' sense of belonging in a school. When students enter a school building, it should feel more like a home, like a family, like a hug, like an embrace. And that needs to happen in multiple ways. That happens by creating a welcoming and affirming environment to students' individuality, their differences, their learning differences, their cultural differences, their language differences. There's ways that we do it in the schools, but we can do a better job of really creating celebrations of that diversity. Students need to have access to several trusted adults. Some students identify not having a single one, but one is not enough. We need more trusted adults that students can connect with. It also means students feel a sense of belonging when they find the curriculum to be relevant to their interests, to their lives, where they can expose their own passions and have deeper learning into those passions. We also need to support students with our clinical services through supporting students with counseling. Sometimes that's mandated counseling, sometimes additional counseling. We do have a sponsored mental health clinic in our school, as many schools in the regions do have, that provides supports not only for our students, but for their families as well, to really create those connections and partnerships between school and family. We also really need to have a continuum of social and emotional learning from K through 12. We do have pockets of this and really great examples of this in parts of the district, but this really needs to come from a K through 12 of students being able to identify their emotions, figure out ways to regulate their emotions, and staff being involved with that. I believe the district has started training staff in some of those social emotional framework learning standards, but we need to do better to be sure that our students, and I'm going to stop.
Okay, very good. Okay, Mr. Burke.
Thank you. Yeah, I think both the other candidates hit on a number of the items that I had in mind. I would note a few things. In addition to having a trusted adult in the building, one of the most important signs of likelihood of success in school is having involvement in an extracurricular activity, whether that's sports or the arts or clubs. And we've done a really good job, I think, of continuing to build those programs, although there's always desire for more, and there's always a challenge against the budget to try and work to find as many of them that we can provide as possible. We've been working, when we built our strategic plan, one of the foundations of it was finding spaces and time to build connection between students and staff. One of the small things that we did around that, we approved at the last board meeting a donation, I think it was from an individual in the community, for a ping pong table to go in the breezeway. And and we've done other things like that to try and find opportunities for kids to do things in the schools that are not on their phones, to build interactions between them. And the last thing I guess I'd raise is, we talked about some of the great work that Pelham Together and other community organizations do. I had a conversation with the administration recently about looking into the opportunity to have some of those community groups become affiliated with BOCES, which would mean that we'd be able to, the way that BOCES works is we pay into a program, pay BOCES. The next year we get 40% of the money back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, here's our next question. It's I'm going to start with you, Ms. Martino Alves. It's under strategic planning and facilities. How would you use your role on the board to make stronger connections between the strategic plan and real-world learning in the district? And is it a priority for you? Okay,
Yes,
got it?
it is a priority for me. Indeed, thank you. I appreciate this question, whoever sent it from the community, so thank you. Real-world learning is really what makes learning and the school experience relevant to students, and which connects to the prior question of feeling belonging, feeling a sense of connection and student wellness in our schools. Real-world learning is taking our learning beyond a test, beyond the walls of our classroom, and really looking beyond. Many schools in our region are looking at internship opportunities for students to engage in connecting outside of the classroom, but also through field trips. But really taking every particular unit and assessment within our classrooms and connecting it to a local or global issue that students can relate to. So I've seen things looking from ancient civilization, but connecting it to prison systems and writing letters to the governor or the mayor, right? There's ways to connect our curriculum that is part of our standards to really make learning come alive and feel very relevant to the modern day lives of our students and prepare them with those skills to be able to stand on a panel and maybe ask questions and respond to and present their learning in ways that really celebrate how far they've come.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Burke?
So the strategic plan is partly about learning, but it's mostly about facilitating learning. So how do we build facilities that are going to support the kinds of learning that we need? How are we going to build a community that's going to support the kind of learning that we want to see? And then finally, what education might look like and academic achievement might look like, and how we build a curriculum that supports student learning. What I've seen in the district over the last 3 years is a real increase in experiential learning. So we had a program, I think it was last summer, where the science teachers came in and they spent half an hour with us sort of showing us what a class might look like. And it's very different than the way I learned science. It was not a teacher at the front of the room talking to us for half an hour. We were using our hands and experiencing science, doing science, and that was the whole idea of it. And that the amount of learning that you can absorb in that way is just very different than listening to a teacher. And I know we just recently had another program where we were working again with BOCES, where they've developed a whole curriculum that's aligned with the New York State standards, and was had materials and props and equipment around sort of archaeological curriculum that fed into social studies and English and history and math and sort of interdisciplinary academic learning. So we're continuing to do all that and very supportive of what the administration has been doing to build it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to ask you to repeat it, please.
Oh, sure. How would you use your role on the board to make stronger connections between the strategic plan and real-world learning in the district? Is it a priority for you?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
When we put together the strategic plan, one of the main things that we talked about, besides belonging in wellness and facilities, was the new era that we're sending our students into, this new age. So rote memorization just doesn't work anymore. What our strategic plan is all about is preparing our students for what's to come post-high school and post whatever they do, whether it be going right into a career or college. So what we and what I've seen from the district is that there has been a shift into interdisciplinary learning, where you have work that's being done with the students, that's hands-on, and that crosses classrooms. So that is starting to happen. That has been happening at the middle school. It is happening at the high school, and they are definitely doing it at the elementary level. Because at that age, what you're doing is you're bringing kids into school and showing them that they can learn by not just memorizing a table of like I did, how to spell certain words. You show them that by experiencing hands-on activities, you're actually teaching them things that they can apply to future endeavors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this next question is Board of Education and Functioning and Governance. And it's going to start with you, Mr. Burke. What is your favorite new idea to bring to the superintendent in the upcoming year? It doesn't have to be an idea you generated.
Well, maybe I'll talk about something that I've been working on for a little while now, and I think it'll take some time to do, but we're going to continue to work on it, which is pedestrian safety at Glover. The trip from the high school or the middle school over to Glover is not what anyone would choose if they were designing a path for students to walk across the on-ramp and off-ramp to the hutch. We've been working with the various municipalities involved and with the county to put together a plan. They designed a few options for us, NIMTech did, to improve safety there with varying complexity and varying costs. Even the simplest of those is going to cost some money, and it's going to have some complexity because you're talking about multiple municipalities. But I think there's a path there, and I think we can make that happen in the next 3 years. It's going to require funding, and it's going to require help from Mount Vernon because they're the ones who own the traffic light. But I think we can find a way to do it, and that's something that I want to work on over the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Yes. So I like this question. I don't think I've heard this question before. The new idea that I would bring to Dr. Champ and the cabinet is the idea of it's not transparency, that's not the word I want to use, but in really demonstrating to the community what it takes to run the schools. And actually leaning on the board to do some of that communication. Because the district, the administrators, the staff are overloaded. They have a full plate. They're expected to take care of that whole child, not just teach them math and science and reading. So what I would love to see is, for example, sports comes up often. And I think because we are so busy as a community, we're running to the train, we have full-time jobs, we have children to take care of, maybe parents to take care of, I would love to see more information being brought to the community so they can understand why decisions are made the way they are. Why in sports, for example, the things that people might get upset about, have them realize, oh, that situation or that picture that you saw hanging, that wasn't even paid for by the schools. That was a group of parents on their own who put that together. And I think when people understand that better, they will come to see what is involved in the school budget, what is involved in running the schools, and how much control does a school have over everything. That communication is hard to put on the district because they're already improving their communication and there's a lack of time. So I've considered, and I haven't told my fellow board members currently this, but I think it would be a great idea if we could be, if some of that could rest on our shoulders to share that information with the community so they're up to speed on what it takes to have such great schools.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Martino-Alvarez?
Yes, thank you. So we've moved past the time of knowledge recall is where learning is. It's really about knowledge application, right? And Pelham does an excellent, excellent job in our science research program, and I would use that program as a real model for what we can do to expand those types of experiences for our students. We have students who are not as engaged in science, but maybe amazing at and interested and passionate about the arts, about the humanities, about literature, about history, about civics. And we want to provide those opportunities. Some of our neighboring districts provide things that are similar. For example, there's a Global Scholars Program that looks like a science research, but is really focusing on engaging in civic readiness. That would align very well to what we currently offer as a seal of civic readiness for our graduating seniors. I would love to see capstone projects at different levels. Currently, we're adding a new course in Pelham, the science research and seminar course that makes it for a capstone, but I'd love for students to have that experience even at a younger age. We have in the middle school, they finish IB in 8th grade with a type of a capstone, but what about in 5th grade? And aligning those skills so that students are practicing and preparing for that type of readiness at a much earlier age and really aligning those. We as families want to see what our students are learning, and we want to celebrate what they are learning and see their growth in combination with like nationally normed skills assessment. So we can make sure that while we're celebrating where their strengths are, we're also really recognizing where they may have gaps or weakness in their learning, and that there's strong intervention processes to support students along the way. But I really want to walk into that auditorium like I did for science research and saw kids do amazing things. I want to see that in every aspect.
Thank you. Okay, this next one is on teaching, learning, and student well-being. Many families have expressed concern about the use of AI in the schools at all grade levels. Similar concerns exist about screen time usage, especially in K and first grade. What is your stance on these issues, and how would you help guide the district in those areas? And that's first to you, Ms. Garcia.
Okay, thank you. I knew there was going to, the AI thing is everywhere, right? And so I recently was part of a committee meeting where a presentation was done by the tech department about AI. So I know parents are very concerned about it and curious. So here's the reality. Every day it's changing. It's changing for us as adults. It's changing for students. And we can't claim to know what's coming next. We also can't put our head in the sand and say we're going to avoid it altogether. That's not an option. And so what I think is necessary is that we have a balanced approach and a very proactive approach. So our district has already had, for 3 years, been investigating AI and its role in the classroom. There has been a committee of stakeholders talking about what does AI look like in the classroom. And what we have to acknowledge is that we don't know what the job market will look like when our kids who are in, let's say, 5th grade right now, graduate from college. But what we can do is take a measured approach where we don't, like I said, put our head in the sand, but at the same time, we make sure that we're paying attention to our students' academic needs, but also their well-being, because I know that's a concern. The other piece of it is that at the end of the day, there is nothing that's going to replace critical thinking, human interaction. AI should be a supportive tool to what goes on in the classroom and not replace teacher supports, teacher guidance, interaction between students, and replace what they need, what they, being students, need to be critical thinkers in our world, because that's going to be necessary regardless, no matter where AI takes us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Martino Alves?
Yes, thank you. So this is front and center of what's happening in our classrooms today. Teachers are challenged with identifying the authentic thinking of their students through assessment models that were built in an era before AI. And are needing to change quickly. AI is changing quicker than we can train teachers and we can prepare ourselves and our students, but we have to be very, very proactive here. And that means twofold. Yes, having a balanced approach in terms of understanding and thinking about guidelines. The district has started really working on being intentional with how AI is used and how the school can support the learning of using AI, and then also academic honesty and developing a code of conduct to deal with that. But that's really only one very small piece, because this is very integrated in our lives as adults, but especially as young people growing and learning in an AI age. teachers need to really be trained and be thinking about intentional uses and not uses of screens in their classrooms. I just, this past week, was at a tech expo that hosted school districts from around the region, where we were learning from one another about how we're doing this work. We really need to come together and learn together about this. The assessments that I was speaking of earlier are one additional approach, right? We need to understand, and students need to understand, how to approach living in this world that we coexist with AI, but we need ways to be able to really assess and look and understand students' authentic thinking. That's through these amazing assessment opportunities where students can, like we are doing right now, right? You are assessing us. You are assessing us and seeing our readiness for this role. And I'll stop right there.
Mr. Burke?
Thank you. So look, AI is a challenge for all of us. It's a challenge for us in our careers. It's going to be a challenge for us for our children to deal with. We don't have all the answers. I am responsible for associate training at my law firm. We're still working through what that looks like and how we're going to really make it work for us, for our youngest associates, and what that how we can build their skills to be able to use AI, because we recognize that it's going to be an essential skill. When we think about the students, I think the district has done a good job of going slow to go fast, so trying to do deep learning on this, build their competency internally. The expectation is AI doesn't have a place in elementary school classrooms. Maybe students start getting exposed to it later in middle school. It's going to have some role or some place in the high school, because kids can't leave high school not knowing anything about how to use it, what the risks are about it, how to use it well. We talked a little bit about screen time. I know there's been some concern in the community, and the district did some analysis of the Chromebooks that are being used in the elementary school, and the average use across the elementary schools is 17 minutes a day. Now, obviously, I suspect fifth graders are using it a lot more, and first graders and kindergartners are using it a lot less, but it's something that we've been conscious of.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this next question is going to start with you, Ms. Martino Alves. It's about the facilities. Given that not all elementary schools have air conditioning, can the academic calendar be adjusted so there are fewer breaks during the year and the school year ends earlier? What types of innovations would you support in this area to shorten the school year and ensure our kids aren't in school during hot weather periods?
Wow. So I'm going to connect this back to something about AI, and that's related to human connection, right? We learned a lot through our COVID experience, and we learned especially that students need to be working with with other students, learning from teachers, and having that human connection and time in the classroom. We have new mandates from the state that talk about a heat index and classroom heat, and so it's put some pressure on school districts to ensure that our facilities are up to snuff and can keep our staff and our students cool enough so they can focus on their learning objectives. We do have holidays throughout the year. As someone who has worked in schools for a long, long time, those holidays are sometimes really needed for mental breaks for students as well as for staff. So that's something to really consider. I understand the idea, and I think it's a really interesting idea to explore about how the calendar can shift some of the concerns that we have with our facilities. needing to be cool, but I also want to recognize that students, they need that mental break in order to be able to reflect on their learning, to be able to grow through their learning, and understanding that school is not all, right? Being home with family and connecting through other experiences that they can bring into the classroom are also significant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Garcia?
Yes, thank you. So there were two parts.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Mr.
I
Burke.
was,
Yeah.
it's
I
fine,
do that
either way.
once every
Either way, it's
4
fine. I'm going to go back to the AI and screen question for just a second also, because I just wanted to add that as much as we all have concerns about both of those, I think there are also real opportunities. There's new software and programs out there that are building real individualized learning opportunities for students in a way that would be really hard to replicate with one teacher in a classroom with 20 kids. And so that's not something that we're going to want to have all the time or most of the time, but it can be a real valuable supplement for students who, when you have a classroom with students have different needs and different starting levels, really helping to bring students up. So I just wanted to add that. As far as facilities go, the academic calendar is something that we've been talking about quite a bit over the last couple of years, and been trying out some different approaches to it. There are a lot of constraints on the calendar, the teacher's contract, Regents rating day, when grades have to be in at the end of the year, that really compress the options that we have in terms of what the calendar can look like. We have some flexibility around, for example, whether Christmas break is 2 weeks or not, but those days are always coming from somewhere else. And it's always the case that the fall ends up being more broken up than people would like. That's mostly because there are a lot of religious holidays during that time of the year that split up the weeks. And then when we're trying to do professional development, it's much more effective to do it in the beginning of the year and have teachers be able to apply that during the rest of the year than finding a day in June to do a PDA.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia?
So I believe I captured all the question, but could you read? I know I'm
Sure,
the one who's
sure,
asking
sure.
always to read it.
This was the air conditioning.
Yes.
Given that not all elementary schools have air conditioning, can the academic calendar be adjusted so there are fewer breaks during the year and the school year ends earlier? What types of innovations would you support in this area to shorten the school year and ensure our kids aren't in school during the hot weather periods?
Yes, okay. So lack of air conditioning in the schools has been a topic of conversation in my house for about 18 to 19 years. And it is hot in our schools. Our schools were built 100 years ago, and if anyone has lived in Manhattan, you know what it's like to be in an apartment building with the windows open in the wintertime and dealing with just this variability in temperature, which can make it very hard to learn. So, okay, so what do we do with this? Well, we've passed a bond that's going to put air conditioning in all our schools, which is fantastic. And I know for some students, they're thinking, really? Why? You didn't do it sooner? So that is a wonderful thing. But that's going to be, I believe, 3 years from now, 2 to 3 years. So it's not instantaneous. As far as the calendar is concerned, to account for the heat that we experience at the start of the school year, at the end of the school year, I've actually really appreciated the parents in town who have come to board meetings to talk about innovative ways to adjust the calendar to accommodate for those days when it's just too unbearable to learn. What happens though, and I see Dr. Champ and the board, and she communicates with the board about this, is that, and I think Sid mentioned this, there are a lot of constraints on the calendar. And with that, it means that there are not only competing interests, I wouldn't even say that, but competing rules about the calendar with when teachers are allowed to, or have agreed to start, when regents are given, when grading happens, and it's a balancing act. And I know, for instance, this year, in order to have 2 weeks at Christmas time, something else needed to change, and we're not going to please all families. So we do our very, very best to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so now this question is going to be teaching, learning, and student well-being. It's going to start with you, Mr. Burke. What is your position on opportunities for student academic achievement at the high school level, i.e. current AP dual enrollment initiatives or programs like International Baccalaureate? In your view, what best fits our district, our faculty, and all our students?
So we have a remarkably strong academic program at the high school, especially for a school district of our size. We offer an enormous number of AP classes all the way in a range through to vocational programs. I don't know a ton about the IB program. I've heard some things about it. It sounds like a wonderful program that's very different than the AP program that we have now. My understanding is that the expense to move to an IB program would be significant, and probably not something that we could do and maintain the AP program that we have now. So we sort of have to choose. I don't think that most people in the district are interested in losing the AP program that we have and that offering. But at the same time, I think there are things that we could do to explore ways to bring some of the benefits of an IB program into the curriculum. My understanding is that it focuses in some ways on things like capstone projects and other opportunities to show what you've learned. And I think that's consistent with the Portrait of Graduate expectations and something that we could look to find ways to do more to incorporate into the curriculum as is.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Garcia.
Yes. So I know there has been significant interest in bringing the IB program to the high school, as we have it in the middle school. Some families even moved here because they thought we did have it in the high school. What I know the district is doing, they're very aware of this, and there is no sense that the IB program is wrong or shouldn't be here. It's not about that. Pelham is a small school district. We're heavily invested in APs, as you all know. And the approach that the district is taking, which is one that I support, is taking the elements of an IB program, the interdisciplinary learning, the critical thinking, the things that align with New York State's Portrait of a Graduate, which is the new framework that we all have to follow, and incorporating it into our classrooms as they are today. And that's a shift for Pelham. That is something that we've started to do, and I know the Dr. Comerford is very interested in continuing. What that means for Pelham, let's say, versus actually instituting an IB program is that it gives us flexibility in how we implement those same elements, but without a specific program that is IB. Because when you have a specific program that is IB, you're held to more standards. And what is great about Pelham is that Pelham can take those elements and incorporate them into classrooms without having to invest in the IB program itself, and not because anything's wrong with it, but because we have such a strong curriculum as it stands.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Martino, Evelyn?
Thank you. So all of these are exceptional, great programs, and I've worked with each and every one of these. I've been the AP coordinator in a school with a real equity and access focus for students to engage in AP courses and been able to raise academic performance through AP courses. I want to clarify that AP are courses, they're individual courses that students can take, similar to dual enrollment courses where students can get college credit from a partnering college or institution while they're attending school here in Pelham. These are often available in schools throughout our region. IB is a program. We do have IB in Pelham. We have IB in the middle school. It's called the Middle Years Program. It's something that our district talks about extensively because it's something we're very, very proud of and the work that students produce through that IB program. When I talk to educators around the region and I mention that Pelham has IB in the middle school, they always ask me, well, why just the middle school? Why doesn't it extend either into the primary years, the elementary school, or up until the high school? Because IB is known as a global standard of excellence around the world, where there is a through line of learning that gets developed from students from beginning years throughout, and a real connection across learning. So we know that students don't learn just social studies, English, and there is a real effort in creating interdisciplinary learning experiences where they build their skills across different areas. And IB was built from the ground up with that in mind. It is a natural thing for Pelham to consider.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
This is going to be the last question, okay? Last question, and we're going to start with you, Ms. Garcia.
Okay.
And it's a governance question. Our school calendar poses challenges for some working families to manage, especially the number of early release or late start days that are scheduled for teacher professional development. Would you support professional development that is scheduled for after-school hours like many New York districts do in order to provide more consistency for students and families?
So this is an example of one of those trying to balance the interests of many. So I fully appreciate, as a working parent, my kids are older, but when they were younger, we had some years where we had some early release days, some late start days, and it was a challenge for parents who were trying to figure out childcare and going to work. As far as changing the school calendar you said to accommodate early release days, is that right?
Let's see, early release or after school hours?
After school early release, right.
Late start, early release, could you do after school hours?
Okay. So what I've seen being on the board for the past 3 years is that it's important to turn to the district to understand why they make the decisions they make. So there are decisions they make, for example, what has come up is, what about Friday afternoons? Or what about after school, like you mentioned in the question? And what's challenging is we want teachers to have professional development at a time when they are fully engaged, they're bright and alert, and as the day goes on, it gets a little harder. I think we can all appreciate that. Friday afternoons would be a challenge. I think any of us who work, having a meeting scheduled at 3 or 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon would make it difficult to stay focused. So my role as a board member is to ask Dr. Champ, when parents bring this up to her, because it is a concern, to ask her, why are things scheduled the way they are, so that I can understand the kinds of choices that are being made and better explain that to the community, as well as understand the limitations on when these professional development events are happening, along with having them, and I'll leave it at that.
Ms. Martino Alves?
Yes, thank you. So I work in a school 5 days a week, and I know the challenges of trying to maintain a work schedule, and accommodate the needs of the school for my children as they get released early from school. I find that for families, oftentimes a full day of professional development that you are aware of early on allows you to better plan. It also is great for the teacher learning environment to be able to have a full day really focused on deeper learning into their craft. It also provides an opportunity for us to coordinate with many of our partner organizations like Pelham Rec, and who often can provide supportive care to engage our children whose families are not able to keep them safely at home during those hours. But I want to also note that really the best type of professional development for our teachers is a coaching model, and that happens throughout the school day, during the school day. The kind of monthly or quarterly professional development is a great tool to really allow teachers to work together, but I would love to see a coaching model where teachers can work and develop their craft with a colleague or with a coach, and really look at measured ways to improve their instruction, adapt it to the things that we're seeing teachers and classrooms challenged with.
Okay, Mr. Burke?
Thanks. This is a topic that's come up the last couple of years, in particular, and it's been interesting to watch because we've seen very different perspectives from people in the community around what they'd prefer on the calendar. So we had years in the past where we did full days, and I think there were complaints about that. We've had early dismissals. There were some parents who found that difficult. Late starts, some parents have issues with that. It's one of those issues where everyone has their own schedules and their own constraints, and it's hard to please everyone. I do think the administration's been doing a good job of trying to collect feedback from the community and see if there are critical masses of parents who have sort of similar concerns around some of these issues. We've tried taking different approaches. I think some of them have been rooted in trying to find, using professional development at times that it can maximize the support for students. So having professional development the morning after Halloween, I think, is a great decision, because the number of kids who are ready to learn at 8 in the morning the day after Halloween is very low. So I think that was a great improvement. I think I'm open-minded about the idea of trying to do professional development after school. It would require negotiations with the union. I don't know how the teachers' union would feel about that and what we would have to give in exchange for asking them to work extra hours in the afternoon after their normal day. But it's something that we could look at and talk to them about and see if it's something that's feasible and could work for everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. So now it's time for closing statements. We're going to start with you, Ms. Garcia. We have 2 minutes for each one of the closing statements. Go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again to the PTA Council for hosting, and the League of Women Voters for moderating. And I also want to thank everyone who's attended here. Coming in person, I know, is not the norm for events. So I appreciate you all being here and being engaged. I'm also thankful for the people streaming and watching live at home or on the train, and all those who are going to watch the recording. And I'm saying this because engagement is key. However you can engage, it's how we make our schools better than they even are. So thank you. Even with our children out of the Pelham schools, they've graduated, they've gone through Hutchinson, through the high school. My husband and I have decided to stay here in Pelham because we are invested in this community and especially invested in our students and making sure that all students receive the same education or even better than what our students, our students, but our children received. My time on the board and my approach to addressing challenges, along with my calm, thoughtful, and inquisitive manner, I believe makes me a good candidate to continue my work on the board and be reelected. Every interaction I've had with the schools, whether as a trustee, a volunteer, has not just been about my own students and my own children. It's been about all the students in Pelham. It's about supporting them on whatever their path to excellence may be. And that's different for everyone. And we've really been focused on that every child's path will look different and it has to be right for them. So I want to continue my work on the board to support them academically and emotionally on whatever their path may be in the future. I would be honored if you considered voting for me on May 19th in the middle school gym. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Burke?
I would agree with Anne Marie's thank yous to many, both for being here and for organizing today. When people ask me what it's like to be on the school board, I usually tell them that it takes a lot of time, but I've found it really interesting and rewarding. I've leaned into my role as a board member to do more than just show up for long meetings, including raising my hand to lead the policy committee for the last 2 school years, which, as I mentioned, has addressed 80 policies, which is starting to make a dent into a long backlog of policies in need of review. Represented the school board in discussions with the village regarding Julianne's playground and a potential picture house project to make sure that they understood the district's perspective, needs, and concerns. Actively participated as a thought partner in the bond steering committee, where we've turned the approved bond projects into concrete designs that are responsive to community input. Volunteered to serve as a district representative on the town sustainability board, which is just kicking off with its first meeting next week. And as I mentioned before, actively involved in efforts to improve pedestrian safety at Glover. I'm ready to continue to make thoughtful, committed contributions to the school board, and on May 19th, I hope you'll give me a chance to do just that. As I think I said the last time I was up here, this is not my favorite forum for these kinds of discussions, and I'd be happy to talk with community members one-on-one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Martino-Alves?
Thank you. So I'm running for the board because questions that were once asked and addressed, answered at the state level are no longer going to be answered at the state level, and they're going to be local decisions. I want to ensure that there is the perspective of a lifelong educator who is 100% dedicated to our students, the varied needs of our students, to contribute to that discussion, to add value to the board in the way in which we approach these issues that are so important for my kids and your kids. I am a Pelham parent. Both of my kids, they attend the middle school and the high school. I love what I see in our schools, and I want to do what I can to be sure that the perspectives, the learning, the experience that I have working in a neighboring district, but also working and looking at classrooms to really bring that perspective onto the board. I know families are looking for a balanced approach. We want strong metrics. We also want personalized data to really understand the learning and experiences of our students. We want joyful celebrations of their learning through performances, through panels of discussion, exhibitions of learning. I want to help see more of those. We want our students to come to school, to be here in person, to engage in human interactions and build those skills that go beyond any one particular discipline. And we want a vision for our schools that helps really build our students' skills from kindergarten to 12th grade so that they are practicing, they are learning together, they are really engaging and applying their learning in real world ways that we can celebrate. I'm running to work collaboratively with this board, with the superintendent, with the educators in Pelham and our community. I want to ask the right questions that I think I can, set a thoughtful direction, and then I'm going to stop right there. I thank you so much for your time, and I hope for your vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Listen, let's thank Jen, the timekeeper over here, the PTAC. The audience, thank you for showing up. You've been a great audience. It's not easy to be a candidate for office, so please appreciate your candidates. You got to put yourself really out there. Election day is May 19th. The polls will be open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the Pelham Middle School Gymnasium at 28 Franklin Place. Thank you so much.